John, I suppose we got to start the usual way by congratulating you, and it really is a pleasure as an old friend to see you after 200 pictures and 40 years in the industry to finally get the Oscar.
Well, it was wonderful.
Duke, does the award mean a hell of a lot to you, really, after all the other honors you've had? Let me tell the folks something about 40 years of motion pictures, but 20 years, or 20 times, you've been in the top 10 among the box office attractions. That really is a indication of what the public thinks of you.
Well, you know, that's a pretty important part of your life if you're going to stay in this wonderful industry that I'm in. I love this because this means that the people with whom you work have shown respect for you, and I will certainly treasure it. I love the idea that they gave Kerry one tonight because he's just one of the most wonderful guys that our business has ever had, and it's pretty nice to
Duke, you know, we were talking
pick that up.
We were talking about awards one time, and you said awards are pretty good, but when the critics finally recognized in Stagecoach and Red River that John Duke Wayne could act, you thought that was a recognition that really meant something to you. And
I was afraid that the pictures wouldn't be successful when they liked them, but they turned out all right.
Does the Western get the recognition it deserves in Hollywood? It's been the staple of the industry for many years.
I think so. They've massacred the Western, you know. I mean, it's, the horse is the best vehicle of action for our medium. And there's been more prose and poetry written about the cowboy, I guess, for his 100-year reign as the opener of the West than any other country's folklore. But in motion pictures, you know, they know that they're going to make money if they make Westerns, so they make a lot of Westerns that maybe haven't the best personal story that was ever written. Whenever they do have a good personal story, the fact that you can give them scenes, give them scenery, give them action, it makes for a picture that more people can enjoy. And being folklore, as Westerns are, it's basic emotion, which every country understands every other country's folklore. That's why they're so popular.
Duke, I noticed at the Academy Awards there was a great deal of effort made, starting with the president, Gregory Peck, about the new freedom of the screen. And they went to a great deal of, I thought, a lot of extra added trouble that wasn't quite necessary, but that's beside the point.
I thought they were pouring the trouble on themselves.
But they did talk a lot about the new freedom of the screen.
See, before the great protectors, the federal government decided that you couldn't exhibit pictures and make them in the same company.
Consent decree.
They broke up some great combinations, you know. When you think of L.B. Mayers and the Thalbergs and the Harry Cohens and Warners, those men had an integrity about making pictures. I remember when they were making so many gangster pictures and making heroes out of thugs, they not suddenly, but they finally realized that it was bad for the country. They were still making a great deal of money with these things. They chopped them off like that because they realized that it was not good for our country. We don't have that anymore. Now we have people who are well known in the business talking for a business that is controlled by stock manipulators at one studio, bankers as far as the independents are concerned, and these are not the people that are really dedicated in thinking of a 20, 30-year program. They're thinking of today, this minute. And I don't think it's too good for our business.
Bob Hope had a good line, which kind of hit the nail on the
he was
head.
really a little rough.
He said crime doesn't pay, but they found out that adultery, homosexuality, and rape do pay on the screen.
Unbelievable. And, you know, they talk, the theater has always had this license to put anything on. But look at the size audiences they have in the theater. That wouldn't pay for a cheap picture. So I think we have to think beyond the dirty pictures and start getting back to making things of human interest.
Do you think that day is coming, Duke? You think it's swinging the other way now?
I think that probably our business as we know it, as we have known it, is gone, but I'm sorry to say this pay TV thing when we're talking for something over television. But actually now I think, you know, our moguls stuck their head in the ground like an ostrich when TV came along, commercial TV. Now I think the commercial TV people have tried to stick their head in the sand and say, oh, it won't happen. But pay TV is going to happen. And when it does, you just can't make enough pictures to fill the bill. And I think because of the experience of what we're going to go through in the next 5 years in the motion picture business, because of these, you know, they're taking us back to burlesque. They're putting the film now down on the dirtiest part of Main Street.
Even the Western, with which you've been identified as a clean, wholesome product, is getting more and more sexy all the time.
Well, maybe so. I don't know. I doubt that very much.
Not the ones you're involved with, but...
Well, I mean, any of them, I don't think... You know, because they call the Midnight Cowboy a Western. That's a little Eastern.
That wasn't quite
That's about as far goddamn east as you can go, too.
Duke, you've been quoted as saying that you feel pretty secure at this stage of your life. That
secure?
You kind of made it.
You never know what's going to go tomorrow.
You don't. But you have a security.
I don't look for security. I mean, it's a ridiculous thing. If you spend your life looking for security, you won't have much happiness. These kids, you know, they're talking about freedom and everything, and a lot of them have a wonderful idea, and that's not, you know, not digging just for security. They want to have some fun out of life. If it was a little more licensed, I think that even the most provocative are right in their thinking.
When I said security, though, I meant in a little different vein. You were quoted the other day as saying that even when it comes to political arguments, you say where people attack you for being a conservative, you kind of laugh it off now. It doesn't bother you anymore, and you can laugh at this kind of conversation.
Well, it never did bother me because I know I'm right.
You have your own feelings.
It isn't feelings at all.
That's what they say. You're right.
It's so obvious that I am right,
yeah.
And I mean right.
Yeah. But this doesn't bother you when they attack you in the so-called liberal element of Hollywood?
Absolutely not. Well, liberal Hollywood doesn't bother me because I can talk back to them. And the others, you know, the Fulbrights and those type, I think are obviously ruining the great picture that we had for Fulbright, his educational scholarships and everything. And now you look at him and you listen to him and you can't believe that a man could be this far out and ridiculous in his statements.
I'll have to give Mr. Fulbright equal time and view of that statement there, Duke.
I wish you'd give it to him with me there.
We have to pause for just a moment, folks, for a message, and we'll be right back with Duke and a surprise. Now we have a real treat because this is a very rare appearance by Mrs. Duke Wayne, Pilar. Pilar, thank you so much for joining us in this little discussion with your famous husband. I imagine that this Oscar night is almost as, or just as big for you as it was for him.
You just can't imagine. I think I've lost 7 pounds in the last 2 days.
Was there any doubt in your mind about his going to win?
Well, I don't know. Sometimes I thought he will, and sometimes I thought he wouldn't. I don't know. But now that it's all over with, I'm just so delighted.
Well, as a stranger who just came to town a few days before the Oscar award, that's all I heard, is that John Duke Wayne is going to win. His record merits it, and his performance in Truth merits it. And
well, he's been the favorite of every poll.
yes.
Every time we turn the radio on the television,
I've known Irv,
he was the favorite.
Irv almost as long as he's been married.
You're right. What kind of a guy is Duke to live with?
Oh, he's real neat. I like him.
Huh? Is he difficult?
I don't think so. No,
Is he temperamental?
That I am, yeah, I'm temperamental.
Sometimes, but he has a right to
Terribly
be.
temperamental.
I know that he's a great father,
Yes.
and he spends as much time as he possibly can with all his
the
children,
kids.
which are numerous.
That's right. I am a grandfather of twins, Cup.
And you have what, about 15 or 16 grandchildren?
No, this is about 18 or
18.
19, I don't know which.
18.
18?
When you first...
I know most of their names.
Duke, when you first learned that, to strike a serious note, that you had cancer, did you feel that the game was up, or did you have the courage to think that I'm going to lick this thing come what may?
I don't think anybody, well, I don't know, maybe some people figure they're dead. But when they told me that, you know, it's like saying, geez, you broke your back or something. But then I started thinking what I had to do. And the toughest thing was telling all, you know, all your friends and everything without being dramatic. It was just like somebody hit me in the belly with a hard left hand, I'll tell you. There's no other way to explain it. It's rough. But outside of the fact that I had to quit cigarettes and gained about 30 pounds, I don't feel any bad effects from it.
You look great. I think he looks better now than he has in years.
He really does. He looks wonderful.
What kind of special attention do you have to give Duke? Do you try to be with him on the set, Pilar, when he's working, or do you stay away from him?
Well, I used to go to practically every location when the kids were little. I was able to take them out of school, and we could take some kind of a teacher or a tutor, you know, to be with them. But now that they're old enough, they don't want to leave school or home. They like their friends, they like their activities, so it's really pretty hard.
Do you have any problems because they have a father who's so famous and so popular around the world?
No.
Does that cause a problem?
The kids are really
They don't
not
know
conscious
about
of
it.
it.
They don't?
He's just
Thank
Big
God.
Daddy who comes home and you know, kisses them and things like that, like at night.
Do any of the youngsters want to be actors like their father?
No, I don't think so. Not really.
I'll tell you a story.
Well,
About
about Jan
Ethan.
Ethan on the boat.
Ethan.
Oh, that's cute.
He's got a couple of friends out on the boat, and somehow or another they got around saying, you know, your dad's a movie star. And he says, yeah. I know. He says, well, what are you going to be when you grow up? He says, oh, I'm going to be an actor. And I said, well, what kind of an actor? He said, oh, movie star. This is a 6-year-old kid. And they said, well, when you're a movie star, will you give us your autograph? He says, I'll give it to you now.
That's beautiful. That's self-assurance.
Lightweight.
Boy.
That's right.
Bill, are you got any special plans?
I didn't exactly feel like that about getting that Oscar.
You got any plans for the Oscar, Pilar? Any special place in the house where it's going to repose
Yes, we have a very wonderful place for it.
with all the other
With all the other,
awards?
right in the middle. Right in the middle.
Do you feel that the Oscars were a little bit late in recognizing your husband after 40 years in the motion picture industry? Frankly.
No,
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I just
no,
think
I never really went in for that field of endeavor. I felt that.
You mean you have to make a special type or special effort in an Oscar?
Well, I think in order to get the critics and the vocal group in our organization interested in you for an Oscar, you have to be in a certain type picture. This was an accident that I was in this one. It was just a natural for me. When I read the book, I went out and tried to
I remember you tried to buy it.
to buy it, yeah. And The author didn't want me.
He didn't?
You know, the day I was doing the scene, you know, with the four men and that beautiful shot with the turning leaves in Colorado, the author was there. And he didn't say anything. He had his head down, and I said, well, how'd you like it, you know? He said, I think you should have worn a mustache. Now, let me show you. I got a hat down to here, huh? I got an eye covered like it, and I want to put a mustache on me in this. He said, you couldn't, I wouldn't have been in the picture. There'd been so many things. But that was his, that was his constructive criticism when I was doing the scene where I said, you know.
Was this a more physical picture than any of the others you've made, Duke? Outside of the fact you had to get adjusted to one eye.
No, it wasn't. The one eye thing, you know, we stick a pinpoint through it so that you don't, otherwise, really, you'd, you know, you can't change from 1 to 2 and ride horses and do things. You have to have something to keep your balance.
He's a beauty.
Yes, it is.
He's heavy, too.
It's a great addition to the Wayne memorabilia, as we shall say.
Like Duke told me, all good men are heavy. He weighs a ton.
Duke, do you have any ambitions to make any kind of picture that you haven't made yet?
Any kind of picture. I have ambitions to make any kind of picture.
And you want to keep that schedule that you mentioned some time ago, 2 pictures a year and then vacation?
Well, if I could do 3 in 2 years, it'd be great with me.
Doesn't the income tax take so much of your profit or your earnings that it's kind of discouraging to make that many pictures?
Well, I want to tell you, Uncle Sam is sure picking all our pockets for everything he can, but I'm not going to squawk because I've been to a lot of those other countries. And it's still pretty good here.
Some people complain, though, that they rather work a little bit less because they are paying so much income tax. I hear that in Hollywood quite a bit. That's creative talent is not doing its utmost because Uncle Sam takes so much of the earnings.
Well, my second business is a cattle business. And there's always a way to use any extra money that I can make.
That cattle business.
Yeah.
What about producing, Duke? Now, your son has produced some pictures. I think you had a hand in one picture in producing. Do you have any interest in that line?
20. Huh?
Do you have any interest in producing?
Well, I have my own company, own production company, and
that's Bat Jack.
Yeah, and it's rather successful. And luckily, my boy has proven himself to be really worthwhile, and he's has a nice reputation in the business.
That he has. You have a nice little empire.
So, you know, I'm very proud of him, and I'm proud of Pat. I think he's about, what is he, 34 now? About 35, 36 is when you come into your own in the acting field. Some are sooner, like these kids that were in there today, but as a rule, you have to have a little age on you before you...
How about the young kids today, Duke? You find they're better actors today, or any better than they were when you started out, or just the same, or just what?
I don't know. They're more positive off stage, but I don't see them any better actors than the kids when I was.
Did Raoul Walsh really give you your name, as the publicity says?
Sheehan gave it to me. Was his boss and my boss. They thought that my right name is Marion Michael Morrison, and they figured that was a little long for pictures and perhaps might get me in fights. Duke Morrison, they figured didn't have enough dignity. So they wanted a good American name, and they chose John Wayne. Took me quite a little while to get used to it, but now I'm very happy with it.
Well, you should be. You've added some distinction to it, I would say, Duke. How do you and Duke like to relax? I keep reading a lot about your being on that lovely boat you have. Is that your favorite form of relaxation? Getting out, getting away on the boat?
Right. Just great.
Pilar's become a tennis addict, and she's She's really very good,
I
too.
play once a week, once in a while.
Once a week, she
Once in a
plays.
while.
Yeah. No, she's really very good.
Duke, I read someplace that you already have picked out your epitaph. An old Mexican expression. It goes to the effect that he was ugly, he was strong, and he had dignity.
That's it.
Is that right?
Feo, fuerte y formal.
That's the
But
Mexican.
tres F's. Which is a pleasant thought, you know, if you can live up to it.
Yeah. Well, you sure have, Duke. I want to thank you and Pilar for being our guests here today. And what they did, folks, is run away from a big Oscar party that followed the Oscar Awards, and they gave us this time tonight, which
Yeah, this is my night down there.
It really is your night, Duke. And as we
right.
said in the column, that Duke Wayne, who won the West many times single-handedly, tonight won the Oscar single-eyed.
Oh, see, that's
So we want to
beautiful.
thank both of you for being with us, and thank you, Duke, and my
I'd love to
congratulations,
ask you.
and I hope that this
I'd
Oscar...
love to ask you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And Russ
Nice
Stewart,
being
too.
here.
He will
And
be
Russ,
delighted
yeah.
to know about this.
Good.
Fine Pilar.
Tell him not to make up any stories.
We will say goodnight or goodbye, rather, to Duke Wayne and his wife, Pilar. Congratulations to Duke once again on winning the Oscar, and we'll be back with other guests after this message.